Moving on to today's webinar. Hello again, Maria.
Hello.
I don't like hearing my voice for too long. It's always nice to hear someone else just to mix it up a bit. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about Maria. Thanks again for coming, Maria. She is a writer, a language teacher, and has been a games enthusiast for many years. By the way, Maria, I haven't said this, but I'm also a games enthusiast. All
Are you
sorts of games.
really? And what's
Yes.
your favourite game, Will?
Well, if we're talking board games, I do have a favourite board game.
Yes.
At the moment, it's Ticket to Ride. Do you know Ticket to Ride?
Oh, we know Ticket to Ride very well in this household.
Oh dear, not as well as me, I'm afraid, Maria. Not as well as me.
Good.
So yes,
Good.
yeah. So Maria is a games enthusiast, has been for many years. She has also co-authored several English language course books and has published online resources for teachers for a very long time. For a long time. She now combines writing with teaching and some educational consultancy work. And she is here, as I said, to talk to us about Kahoot. Maria, over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Will. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Okay, let's start the session, and it's all about Kahooting. And what are we going to see in the session? We're going to have a look at what is a Kahoot. For some people who haven't seen Kahoots before, let's do a Kahoot. Who can use Kahoots? What Kahoots can you use? Ready-made Kahoots versus how to create a Kahoot. And there are 15 top tips for Kahooting with primary learners. And at the end, we're going to try and put it all together and maybe do some kind of progress check if the system works. So let's start. What is a Kahoot? They are online quiz games, and you can use them for practicing different language areas, vocabulary, grammar. You can do mini dialogues, and you can review language that you've been looking at in class. You can also use them for self-study, and we'll be looking at how we can do the self-study a little bit later on. You do need to have a connected device to access your Kahoots, and you can use them in online classes, face-to-face classes, or for self-study. Okay, we're going to have a quick look at a Macmillan vocabulary Kahoot, and it's all about pets and animals. It's a very low level, and it's just so that you can see what a Kahoot, a simple Kahoot, will look like. Will, do you think we could have that first video, please?
Yep.
Okay, so you can see this is where I can see my Kahoot before I launch playing it with the students. You can see the title of the Kahoot. There's a cover image there. We've got a play button, an edit button. This one here is a share. You can favorite that Kahoot, and you can preview. So let's just have a look at this. In the sharing the Kahoot, I can share it with other users, Kahoot users. I can share it in groups. I can share it as a link, or I can share it via Twitter or Facebook, Microsoft Teams, email. I can favorite and I can preview as well. We're going to preview. So this is how the students will see this. There's a big screen if you're launching a live Kahoot. That's what we'd say the classic, the one-to-one. You can also play as teams, and you have different options for your Kahoot. You can get the students to use nicknames. So there's a nickname generator. You can randomize the order of the questions, the order of the answers. You can show basic instructions, and you can automatically move through the questions. And what happens is I can toggle those on and off depending on what I want to do with this Kahoot. I then launch it by clicking on that button, and the system will generate a game pin. And here's my game pin. I copy the game pin and I put it into this device. Okay, so your students, if you're doing a live Kahoot, your students will need to have either an iPad or a mobile device to be able to play, or you play on 2 screens in the computer. Yeah. So let's have a look. So we can start this Kahoot. You can see I'm in there now with my initials, and I'm going to start it here. Okay. And this is what the Kahoot looks like. If you've never been into a Kahoot, you have questions, and in this particular one, it's for low level. We have picture answers. So we choose the right, it's a bird, we choose the right answer, whichever color it is, and we continue to the next question. We get points for correct answers, and it's a cat. In this particular quiz, we've got questions are all, the answers to all these questions are all images. It's for low levels to recognize words and link words with images. It's a dog. We can go in, we can click the right answer, and so on. You'll see at the bottom there, you've got a game pin that's always there at the bottom, and the game is open. We will look a little bit later on how to close a game and why you would want to close a game. So this is the basic Kahoot quiz with questions or sentences and picture answers. Great for the very young learners. For older learners, they have to be concrete objects to use the images like this. So they can still use it, but it is very good for the very young learners. And this particular quiz has 7 questions. So you can have, usually your questions, there will be something like anything between 5-10 question is an average Kahoot. And we've finished, we get the podium, and you'll see there's first, second and third place for the class. And we're going to stop it there, I think. Yes. Okay. Can we go back, Will? Thanks, to the presentation. So you've seen a Kahoot, and okay.
Sorry, Maria.
It's all right. It's okay. Okay. So you've seen that's a ready-made Kahoot, and I can use that with my classes. My classes don't need to have Kahoot accounts if they're not creating. I need to have a Kahoot account if I'm going to create a Kahoot. So you don't, in order to play a Kahoot, you don't need an account. You've just got to put the game pin in or use a link. And we go into the Kahoot.it account. Put that into your browser, and that's where you'll put your game pin in. You can create a Kahoot, a basic quiz, and that's with a free account. If you want to use other question types like type in answers or slides or poll, you will need a premium account. And if you'd like to edit and duplicate a Kahoot, then you'll need a premium account as well. Let's continue and look at, so there's 2 types of Kahoots. Then the ready-made Kahoots, so they're made by other people. So we've got the Macmillan Kahoots, we've got lots and lots of public Kahoots that we can actually use, or you can create your own Kahoot. And we're going to have a quick look at what these ready-made Macmillan Kahoots look like And to do that, I'm just going to quickly go into the Macmillan page, and I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to share my screen with you. So if you bear with me just 1 second, I'm going to share it here. Okay, can you see that okay?
Not just yet, Maria. We've got the
Okay.
lovely circle. We can see it now.
Yeah, great. Okay, so if we look at the Macmillan Kahoots, you'll see that they're divided up into different levels. Here we've got the primary pre-A1 Kahoots. There's some pre-A1 to A1 Kahoots. There are A2 to A2 plus Kahoots. If we go into the A2 plus Kahoots, for example, you'll see there are different vocab Kahoots. There are grammar Kahoots. If we go into this one here, for example, you'll see there are 10 questions, and I'm going to show the answers here, and we've got 3 possible answers that the students choose from, and all of these questions are 3-answer multiple choice questions. There's 1 answer, correct answer in the multiple choice answers in all of the questions. And that's for primary, that's actually, it works much better if we can keep the same kind of question type in a quiz, especially for the younger learners. It just makes it easier for them to be able to answer, to read them, to know what they're supposed to be doing when they're answering those questions. Okay, so if we go back to the page, you'll see there are lots and lots of different ones that we can use, and they are ready-made. There are vocab ones with colours, for example, for the really young ones. And you can see that all of them, there we are here, these ones have the images as answers. So you've got lots and lots of ready-made Kahoots that Macmillan have. You've also got lots and lots of public Kahoots. And if you go into the Discover page on the Kahoot site, that's kahoot.com site, you'll see there are lots and lots. There are hundreds of Kahoots. So there's maths, there's global solidarity, there's diversity, there's there's maths, there's National Geographic, there are hundreds of them. So it's just take your time, go in there, have a look around, and see if there are Kahoots you can already use that are ready made. Okay, let's just go back to can we go back to the presentation? That's great, thanks. So we've seen the ready-made Kahoots, but what about creating a Kahoot? How do we create a Kahoot? Let's just very quickly go through the general, the free Kahoot account, because there are different kinds of accounts with a Kahoot. The free account allows you to make Kahoots with 2 types of questions: the quiz multiple choice questions or the true or false questions. These other ones here that you can see on the screen have a little crown at the top, which indicates that they are premium, for premium account holders only. So if you do have a premium account, you can include more question types in your Kahoots. So for example, type in answer if you want to do spelling checks with the kids. Puzzle type answer is where you're putting 4 items into the correct order. You can use it for spelling, you can use it for ordering sentences. Poll is just asking a question and finding out the opinions of either your students or, it depends on where you're using it. And then the slide is great for if you're teaching a particular point, say a grammar point with the older kids, and you want to include slides to show example sentences, and then include questions in your Kahoot afterwards. So you mix slides with different kinds of questions. Okay, let's carry on. And you have these 2 question types in the free Kahoot account, yeah, with 2 to 4 answers, and there's only 1 correct answer in the free account. If you have a premium account, you can have up to 4 correct answers, and the true-false questions with either true or false answers. We're going to have a look at trying to make a Kahoot for there is and there are with food items. And we're going to create 5 quiz questions. And here they are. The first one, there some potatoes. Correct answer is are, incorrect answer is. Number 2 is a question. Is there a chocolate cake? And we will add an image. Yes, there is. No, there isn't. Number 3, are there any apples? We've got different possible answers. And number 4, there aren't any oranges. There are only bananas. And then the 5th one is a true-false question. There aren't any oranges. There are only bananas. Right, we're going to go in and I'm going to show you how you can make that quiz of those 5 questions in a Kahoot, just so that you can see after we finish the session today, go in, create an account and go and play, because you just need to play around with it. Okay, can we launch that second video, please, Will?
Sure thing. There you go.
Great. Thank you. So the first thing we need to do is we need to, I'm just trying to, sorry, can I just move this up? First thing we need to give it a title, our Kahoot. So this one I'm calling it There Is, There Are, plus food. I've already given it a cover image over here. And we're going to go in to start making our questions. And we type in the first question at the top there. We can then add an image from the library. In this particular case, we're adding some free images from the Getty images. With the free Kahoot account, you get a number of different kinds of images. In the single select, multi-select, you can see that in the free account, you can only have 1 correct answer. If you want multiple correct answers, that's the premium. So then we choose our correct answer. And when we've chosen the correct answer, you'll see a green circle with a tick in the middle. That's your correct answer. Here by the side to the left of that, you can see an icon, an image icon, and that means you can actually upload images as your answers instead of using text. Okay. In the premium account, you've got image reveal, and that slowly reveals that picture in the questions. In this particular question, we're only going to use 2 possible answers, and we're going to add our second question by typing in the question, is there a chocolate cake? I look for the image, and I can upload images from my own computer. I can use these free images from Getty, or I can upload a video as well from YouTube. So I put in my answers. Yes, there is. Don't forget, you've got a maximum character count there for your answers. And you can see how many characters you have left by that number at the top of the circle. And we're going to put in our third question. Are there any apples? Again, we look for our image, upload the image, and can we just have a quick look here where we've got the time limit? We can change the time limit So we can go from 5 seconds all the way through to 240 seconds. And we've got points. There are 1,000 points that the students can get. And we can double that number of points, and we'll see that in a minute. So let's just see the answers to these questions. Yes, there are. No. No. Okay, so we've got incorrect answer. We're going to add another quiz question. There aren't any oranges. There are only bananas. Okay, we add the image of the bananas. Okay. So in this particular question, I'm doubling the number of points that the students can get because it's quite a difficult question. So I can give them double, 2,000 points, maximum 2,000. We type in okay. Now here, I'm giving you the example of a yes, no. We can actually have just yes, no in the answers, which is different from the true, false questions, yeah? So I could actually here also use an image in the, as you saw in the Macmillan Kahoots, we could just have an image in the answers. There aren't any oranges, there are only bananas, and then I look for another image of the oranges, and so I have images as my answers. Okay. And we're going to add another question, but I've made a mistake and I want to add a true-false question. So I delete that by using the little bin icon next to the quiz question on the left. And we're here in the last question. There aren't any oranges. There are only bananas. And in this one, it's a true-false question. So our answers are either true or false. I put the picture into the question there, upload that, and I mark true. Okay. I'm going to give them double points, and I'm also going to extend the time on that question. I can go back and extend time on other questions. You can see that there. I'm going back to a previous question. We can also use a question bank. The question bank is we're using questions that other people have used for their Kahoots. Maybe we already have questions in other Kahoots that we can use within our own Kahoot. So that's the question bank, okay? And you'll see as we go through here, you can test this Kahoot, you can play that Kahoot straight away. And again, we've got our big screen, we click on the classic, and we've got our game pin. We put our game pin in and we enter the Kahoot by, we put our name in. Okay. Now I can lock that Kahoot. I'm just going to quickly pause that here. I could imagine that all of my students are in there and I don't want any students having two different devices open, okay, because that means that somebody's cheating somewhere. So we can lock it and then only the people that are in that Kahoot can play the Kahoot. No more people can join. We can also imagine that this person here has, sorry, this person who is here has used a name that they're just being silly, and they're, you know, 10, 11 years of age, and they just want to have a bit of a laugh with their friends, and they've used an inappropriate name. So what can I do? I can chuck them out of the game. So they go out of the game, and you'll see here they need to put in, if they try and come into the game again with the same name, let's just see what happens. It shows you, sorry, that nickname is taken. So they have to change. It's just one way of actually making sure that, you know, some kids will always disrupt, and they will use names that they shouldn't. So here are our questions. There are some potatoes. We choose the correct answer on our device on the left, because this is an example of a live Kahoot. In the second question, is there a chocolate cake? This is what it looks like. The two answers at the bottom there. And the next question was, are there any apples? We had the picture of the apples, two answers there, and we continue. Number 4, this is what the double points looks like. There aren't any oranges, there are only bananas. They have to choose the correct picture. And the last question is a true, false, also double points. There aren't any oranges, there are only bananas. And this is what this true, false question looks like. So we get to, okay. Can we go back, please, Will?
Yeah, one sec.
So you've seen an example of how to create your own Kahoot, yeah? And let's just move forward. Okay. Right, we saw this just before. So that younger levels, it is advisable to use the same question type throughout the Kahoot and the same number of possible answers, just so that the kids, they need a little bit of time to get the hang of answering these questions, and it just makes it a little bit easier, especially at the younger levels. And by younger levels, we're talking 7, 8 year olds, yeah? And the next one is, remember that if you're doing a quiz and there are 4 possible answers, one of the answers, don't use all of the above as an answer, because if you switch on, if you toggle on the randomized answers, the all of the above can sometimes come up as your first multiple choice option, which doesn't make sense, especially on a mobile device. So just avoid using it as an answer. It's just much easier, okay? How can we play? There are 2 ways of playing Kahoot. There's a live Kahoot, where you've got a main screen for the questions. So the students are reading the questions on a screen, and then they're using a different device, a mobile or an iPad, to answer on, or they're using two screens that are open on their computers. You can also use Kahoots as a Kahoot challenge, where you, for example, give a Kahoot for homework. So you say, you have until such and such a day to do this Kahoot. Let's just see how that works. Can we have our 3rd video, Will, please?
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so here's a Kahoot about daily routines. We can click the play button, and this is what we'll see. We can play a live Kahoot on the left, or a self-paced challenge, Kahoot challenge, on the right. And I'm going to show you, if I click here on the right, you'll see I can change the date and the time when the players should complete this Kahoot by. So I can choose a date and click on the time. I can have the question timer on, or I can switch it off on a Kahoot challenge. Yeah. What's the advantage of having the question timer off? Some kids get very, very excited and very nervous about answering some of the questions because there's music, there's a time limit, and they get very excited. So if you switch the timer off, they can actually really focus on answering the question rather than just getting points, okay, and having a time limit and getting really nervous. We can also randomize the answer order, so the displays different answers on every player's device. So why would we use that? It's to stop kids cheating, yeah? So they've all got the answers are in different orders. And you can avoid inappropriate nicknames by using the nickname generator. It does take a little bit of time, but it's quite fun. Okay, so we've seen how you can actually either it's a Kahoot, live Kahoot, or it's a Kahoot challenge. Can we go back, Will, please?
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Okay. So the two different types of Kahoot challenges, yeah? So if you ask your students to use their real first name and surname or just the initial, it helps track progress. If you're on a premium option, the Pro, you can track it in a different way. But if you're on a free Kahoot account, then ask them to use their first name and surname. Yeah, just makes it much easier. The nickname generator, how it works is that the students spin the generator and then they can choose. They can spin it 3 times and they can choose the nickname that they like. But it's more difficult for you to control who's in the room if they use the nickname generator, but it is fun. It is fun. Okay, and then we've already seen what do you do if someone enters the game and uses an inappropriate name? Well, we chuck them out of the game and ask them to re-enter with a different name. You can switch off the timer or extend the time for questions. So the maximum time you have on questions is 4 minutes. If they're working in teams, it's better to give them a little bit longer so that there is more collaboration and it's not just about just hitting the button as soon as possible, because there'll be very little collaboration if you keep them short. There are advantages and disadvantages to keeping timing on. It just makes it fun. It does become very competitive, and it energizes the class. But also we do want them to study as well. So when can you use Kahoots? You can use them in opening and closing routines. You can use them for revision or for homework, formative assessment, as extra material, and also as self-study in adaptive learning. So if we have a look at the first one, in the opening and closing routines or icebreakers at the start of a course, for example, you could make your own class selfie Kahoot. You could ask your students for one piece of information from each of your students in the class. You create the Kahoot and they play the Kahoot about all of their classmates in the class. So it could be Louise likes chocolate, or Anna plays the guitar, and you're getting them to think about, sometimes they'll know the answer, other times they won't, but it's just to get the class together and getting to know each other. So it's an icebreaker at the start of the course. You can also use Kahoots to start or review what you've done in the last class. You can do vocabulary, you can do questions. It can be just 5 questions at the start of the class to go over what you did in the last class. You can also use a Kahoot as a closing routine to check understanding. You can try and make it short. It's just a quick revision of what you've been doing in the class that day. Just for checking understanding, sometimes it's useful to see if all of the students are following what you've been doing. Maybe you've been doing a new grammar structure, and you want to just check just to make sure that, yeah, they have the hang of it. Okay, what else can you use Kahoots for? You can use them for revision. You can use them for mini dialogues, question and answers. They're useful speaking exam type questions. You can get them practicing those questions in a Kahoot. It's all written, I'm afraid, yeah. You can use video in your questions as well. You'll have to upload YouTube video. So it is possible to include video. You can use Kahoots to revise spelling, punctuation, different tenses. You can practically do a Kahoot about anything in the language. Let's carry on. And you can give a Kahoot for homework. If you switch off the timer, they do the Kahoot for homework. And then when they come back to class, you can actually do a live Kahoot, the same Kahoot, live Kahoot, as a class, but in the next class, okay? So you're going over what they've done in their homework. Okay, the playing is fun. They love playing Kahoots. They get really excited, but it is important to go over the questions and talk about the answers. So, yeah, for some kids, most kids like playing Kahoots, but some kids do get incredibly nervous, and they do need that revision of why some answers are correct and some answers are incorrect to help reinforce learning, because that's why we're playing them as well. We are trying to teach them and to get them to learn things as well, yeah. And the multi-select answers are great. If you have premium, you can use more than one answer in your answers. They have to tick the answers, and it's great for the older learners if you're looking at getting them to show real understanding. You need to give them a little bit longer in these questions, especially if they have to answer, if they're going to tick 2 or 3 items, or even the 4 items. It does show deeper understanding. Okay. Let's carry on. You can use Kahoots is formative assessment to track progress of students. I'd recommend not telling the students that you're going to be tracking that progress. If it's part of their formative assessment, if you're going to use those marks later on. They do get nervous when they're playing unless you take the timers off. You can share and discuss results with colleagues. It's great for opening up channels and talking about and communicating with others in the team. You can create a team area where you're sharing your Kahoots and sharing the knowledge about your students as well. So it really does help to open up those channels of communication, because sometimes we feel as though we're working alone, yeah. Okay, you can use Kahoots for diagnostic testing. It's the start of a unit, checking to see which students, or if any students already know some of the material. It's great for helping you to decide what you're going to be doing and how you're going to organise some of that work of the unit. You can also use Kahoots in those extra 5 to 10 minutes that you have at the end of a class, and you can go over vocabulary or you can go over a bit of grammar, and it really does just gives you extra resources to do in the class. You can use them as extension, you can use them as revision, depending on the level of your students. And when we look at the self-study mode, we're talking really about using the Kahoot app. You need to download the Kahoot app either through Google Play or the App Store, the Apple Store, and this is what you'll see. You can use Kahoot challenges for self-study because they really can be done at the student's own pace. They're self-paced, especially if you take the timer off. And that is really just getting the students to work through the materials on their own. That's the Kahoot challenge. You can also go into study mode on the Kahoot app. You can practice with flashcards. You can get them to practice. They can do a test yourself. So these are the kind of levels, if you like. The easiest is the flashcard because you have the answers, the questions and the answers. Then you go into practice, you go into test yourself. They can win points there. And then they can then study with their friends by challenging their friends through the Kahoot app. Okay. With the older learners, how can we use Kahoots? We can get the older learners, if you use presentations or projects in your classes, you can get the students to make their own Kahoots at the end of or about their presentation or about their project. And then they play those Kahoots with the rest of the class to check to see which students have understood or have followed their presentation, or have followed their project. You can also get the older students to create Kahoots to show their understanding of language points. So for example, if you've covered a specific grammar point and you want them to practice that grammar point, they then go on to create their own Kahoots for their friends. You can use, you've seen that you can use video, you can use images in Kahoots, and then the images as answers are great for the very young learners. And if you have a question or a text that is longer than the number of characters that are allowed, there's 120 characters allowed in those questions, you can use an image of the text instead. So you upload the image, and there you can put in much more text. But there's a limit as well to the space there. Okay. Okay, how are we doing for time? Right, we can do a progress check before we have a look at some of the questions. And we're going to try and do this one as a Kahoot. So I'm going to just close this down. I'm going to share my screen with you in a moment. Let me just open this up, and I'm going to share the screen. So bear with me. Okay. Okay, right. So we've got a Kahoot challenge for you about Kahoots. And you'll need to, if you can, go into, open up another screen or go into another device. You need to go into kahoot.it and put in this game pin. Can you see this game pin okay at the bottom there? 05017-426. You need to put in that game pin and play that Kahoot challenge. And we'll give you a few moments just to go in and start that Kahoot challenge. And then we'll show it on the screen here, and we'll go through those answers all together. It shouldn't take you longer than about maybe about three minutes to do that Kahoot challenge. So let's see if we've actually managed to get people in. Yeah, we've got a few. We're going to get, okay. Okay. Are we going to go in? Shall I go in and show you this Kahoot then? Okay. Okay. And I'm going to go in here. It might make a bit of a racket, so I'm going to try and turn it down a little bit. Okay. Let's see if we can turn it down there. Okay. Okay. Okay, so you need a Kahoot account to play Kahoot. I can't turn. Okay. Okay. So do you need a Kahoot account? No, you don't, not to play Kahoot. So we're going to put false in. Okay. And the next one, right. Okay. The next one is, this is a Kahoot we do with everyone in class at the same time. Is that a live Kahoot or a Kahoot challenge? It's actually a live Kahoot. So we press the live Kahoot. Okay. Okay, let's carry on. And number 3, what is the minimum number of players for a Kahoot quiz? Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? It's actually 1. Okay, how are you getting on? Okay, we've got lots of players now. This is a multi-select, it's double points. Kahoots can be used as, we've got to select one or more answers. They can be used for revision, formative assessment, adaptive learning, or as a warm-up. Actually, it's all 4. We can use them for all 4. Okay, and the next one is a puzzle activity. This is on premium. You need premium to use this kind of activity. And this is a drag and drop. So we have to put this sentence into the correct order. I've given 60 seconds because this actually takes a little bit more fiddling around. If you have premium, you can use it. So you can use and share a public Kahoot. That's the answer. Okay. Okay, and the next one is multi-select. What can you use in Kahoot questions? You've got to select one or more answers. You can use text. You can use videos. You can use images. You can't use PDFs. Okay, and the next one is multi-select. Again, more than one answer. What study modes can you use on the Kahoot app? Practice, flashcards, test yourself, and challenge friends. It's all 4. Okay, and the next one, number 8, what's the maximum length of time a question can run for if you've put the timer on? Is it 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 120 seconds, 240 seconds? It's actually 240 seconds. Okay, 4 minutes. And number 9, can students create their own Kahoots? Yes or no? Yes, they can. Yes. Okay. And we're on to question number 10. It's multi-select, more than one answer. To share your Kahoots with other teachers, you choose the share in the options menu, and then you can copy and send the URL. You can enter the other person's Kahoot username and share the Kahoot with them. You can share via Facebook, and you can also share via Twitter. Okay, and it's so all 4 questions. Here we are. And we've got lots of different people going here. Yep. Okay. Right. Can we go back? Sorry, I'm going to, sorry. Can we go back to our presentation? Okay. And we've been through the progress check, and thank you for playing. We've got time for a few questions at the end of the session here, and hopefully we will, we'll be able to answer some of those questions. Will, are there any questions?
There are. 1 second, Maria. Sorry, my light. My light is sort of, you can only see my mouth, I think. Is that right?
That's fine. We can see you fine. Absolutely fine.
It's the sun's orientation. It's what it's decided to do. I'm gonna roll with it.
That's fine. It's the UK. There's some sunshine. That's perfect.
Yes, thank goodness. Right in my eyes. There you go. So, the first question for you, Maria, is.
I'm going to turn up my.
Firstly, they said thank you very much for your presentation.
Oh, well, thank you for coming.
Croatulane. I've definitely pronounced that wrongly. I apologise for that. They just wanted you to quickly explain, if you could, the points system. So they said under the time limit, it says 1,000. What does that mean? Do they get 1,000 points every time if you set that to 1,000?
Yes, yeah, it's up to 1,000. If they're fast in answering, the maximum number of points they'll get is 1,000. Or the maximum number of points could be up to 2,000 for a question if you double those points. That's your max. Yeah. It really depends on how long you take to answer the question.
Right. Okay, so here we go. So all the questions are flooding in, Maria. I'm trying to keep up with them. So,
okay.
Someone's asked if you could say more about using videos.
Well, if you have YouTube, if you have videos that you can use, you have the rights to. So they're your videos that you put up on YouTube. Then you can use them for your Kahoots.
Okay.
It's similar to the image rights. If you have one of those videos, then you can use a video. You could do a mini listening task, about the video. It can be just questions and answers about the video. You will need to either, take the timer off, or you can use the time starts after the video finishes, okay, to answer the question.
Okay.
But if you, so that's, I think it's great for just very short, fun videos. Yeah, but you have to have the rights to them, I'm afraid.
All right. Thanks, Maria. Cheers for clarifying. So someone has asked, Maria has asked, if you assign a Kahoot, what's the evidence that the student has actually done it? Is there evidence?
You can go through the report. You can see who's done the Kahoot, who hasn't done the Kahoot. You can see which questions they aren't answered. What you can't do is you can't prove that they didn't just go through the Kahoot just clicking on anything. But that's going to be with any kind of learning. Kids are gonna cheat doing their homework. Some kids will, some kids won't, and they will do with the Kahoots as well. you can't avoid that. Yeah.
Okay. So Fatima has asked. I think I know the answer to this, but can a student enter the game twice?
What's the answer then, Will? Go on, give it
The
to
answer
us.
is yes, they can, because they cheat. That's how they cheat. We've got to stop them cheating.
They could go into, so this is, sorry, we actually, she's asking about the same student going in with 3 different devices, you mean?
Well, the question is, can students enter the game twice? That's the only. So I suppose we can take it both ways if you want.
So you could have up to 5, devices.